Have you ever, pictured yourself laptop open, maybe not in your usual home office, but with this incredible view, maybe mountains all around, or looking out over some serene, shimmering lake? It's that sort of universal dream, isn't it? Where your workday includes stunning nature, not just, well, the usual grind. Well, what if I told you that dream just got a whole lot more attainable, especially for remote workers? Today, we're doing a deep dive into some really significant news. New Zealand. They've recently updated their visitor visa rules, and it makes it genuinely easier for remote professionals to, live and work from their absolutely stunning country. This isn't just a tiny tweak to policy. It feels like a new doorway, really, for a different kind of global work life. So our mission here is to unpack this. We want to look at the core changes, figure out who exactly this is for, clarify what you can and, importantly, can't do. We'll break down the costs involved and, crucially, talk about how you might actually make this dream a reality.
Yeah, and what's really quite insightful here is seeing how New Zealand is doing this. It's not just passively accepting the remote work trend. They're actively using it sort of strategically to give their economy a boost. It's a calculated move, really.
Right.
Aiming to attract a certain type of person that fits with their, post-pandemic recovery plans. It's fascinating to see nations rethinking work and travel like this.
It really does feel proactive. And the big news, the concrete thing we're focusing on, is this date. January 27th, 2025. That's when New Zealand officially starts allowing remote working on their standard visitor visa, which, as you said, is a huge shift from how things were. It really opens up possibilities that just weren't there before for a lot of international professionals. So thinking about that shift, who do you see benefiting most from this? Are there specific kinds of remote workers this is, perfect for?
Yeah, it's definitely tailored. It's ideal for people whose income comes entirely from outside New Zealand. So think about freelancers, maybe you manage international clients, tech specialists working for overseas firms, consultants with global projects, content creators. If your employer or your clients are not based in New Zealand, then you're exactly the target.
Okay, so the source of income is key.
Absolutely critical. And that leads to the strict distinctions. You are allowed to do that remote work for your overseas employer or clients. That's fine. Your money has to come from outside NZ. But, and this is a really crucial point, can't stress this enough, you are not allowed to work for New Zealand companies.
Right. No local jobs.
No local jobs, no offering services to local businesses either. Getting that distinction right is vital. Avoids any potential headaches down the line.
That clarity is super important. But what about the visa itself? It's still a visitor visa. So is remote work supposed to be the main reason you're going?
That's a really important question. And it gets into the nuance, doesn't it? The official guidance, the material they've put out, it explicitly says the primary purpose of your visit must still be things like tourism, visiting friends or family, or maybe short-term personal travel.
Oh.
Remote work is officially seen as a secondary activity, kind of an incidental thing you can do while you're there as a visitor.
So it's a bonus, not the main event.
Exactly. It reinforces that this isn't replacing a proper work visa. Understanding that primary intent is crucial. If you misrepresent why you're primarily going, well, that could cause problems. Application stage, maybe even when you land.
That makes total sense. It's an enhancement to being a visitor, really.
Right.
Okay, let's talk practicalities then. Length of stay, how much work, how long can someone actually do this New Zealand workcation?
Right, so the specifics are, you can do up to 90 days of remote work. That's within any 6-month visit period. Now, if you have a multiple entry visitor visa, your maximum stay overall is 6 months.
Yes.
If you get a single entry visa, it can actually go up to 9 months.
9 months, wow. Yeah. And here's a little interesting extra bit. You're also allowed to study for up to 3 months during your stay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, if you've been thinking about maybe doing a short course, picking up a skill, you could potentially fold that into your trip too, while you're working remotely.
That's quite flexible. Study and remote work on a visitor visa.
It is. So this vision, working from NZ, it sounds amazing. But, the next question for many people is always going to be money. What's the cost? Can you break down the financials? Maybe thinking specifically about listeners from India, for example. Okay, yeah, let's look at the numbers. The good news is it seems pretty accessible considering the experience. The standard visitor visa fee itself is about $22,655. That translates to roughly NZD 331. Then on top of that, there's something called the IVL, the International Visitor Conservation and Tourism Levy. That's NZD 100, which is around 5,140.
Okay, the conservation levy.
Exactly. So if you add those two together, your total estimated cost is about $27,795.5. So yeah, for just under, say, $28,000, you're looking at the official cost for this opportunity, a legal workation.
And that IVL, it's worth mentioning, isn't just a random fee. It's designed specifically to go back into conservation and tourism infrastructure. So visitors are directly contributing to preserving the very things they're coming to see, which is quite a smart model, actually.
That's a good point. Sustainable tourism.
And beyond the fees, there are, of course, the usual eligibility hurdles. You'll need your valid passport, naturally, proof of onward travel, that return ticket we mentioned to show you plan on leaving,
Right.
and proof of sufficient funds. They want to see you can support yourself. The figure is NZD 1,000 per month, or it drops to NZD 400 per month if you've already paid for your accommodation up front.
Okay, good to know.
And then the standard checks. Good health, good character, pretty standard for most international travel these days.
That all sounds fairly straightforward, actually. And you mentioned it gets even simpler for some people. Citizens from visa waiver countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you're from a country on New Zealand's visa waiver list, you don't need the full visitor visa. You can apply using the NZETA. That's their electronic travel authority. It's simpler, faster, and cheaper. The combined fees for the NZETA and the IVL are only around NZD 58, which is roughly, what, 3,000 or maybe even less, depending on the exchange rate. So significantly cheaper.
Wow. Okay.
It really does feel like they're trying to make it quite welcoming, quite easy for the right people.
Yeah, and if you connect that ease, especially the MZETA-free path, back to the bigger picture, the strategy, it makes sense. This move isn't just about, being nice to remote workers. It's a calculated effort to boost tourism after the pandemic hit.
Right.
And stimulate wider economic growth. By targeting remote workers who often have decent, sometimes higher incomes, the government's hoping they'll spend more money across different regions and, importantly, maybe outside the peak tourist season.
Spreading the benefit throughout the year.
Exactly. It helps stabilize their tourism industry. They're aiming for these high-value but low-impact visitors, people who bring in foreign currency but aren't taking local jobs.
That makes sense.
It feels more targeted, maybe, than some broader digital nomad visas elsewhere, which have sometimes run into issues, like driving up local rents or things like that.
That's a very clear strategic reason behind it, and it ties right into what the immigration minister, Erica Stanford, said. Her quote was something like, "We want people to see our country as the ideal place to visit and work while they do it."
Captures that duality perfectly. Visit first, work secondarily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so lots of exciting possibilities here. But it's probably a good moment to pause and just reiterate some of those really important considerations, the things people must keep in mind to make sure it all goes smoothly.
Absolutely. The number one rule, worth repeating. The work you do must be remote, and only for clients or employers based outside New Zealand. No gray areas there.
Right. Crystal clear.
And, also important, if your plans change, if you're thinking of staying longer than the visitor visa allows, or, crucially, if you get an offer or want to look for work with a New Zealand company, you absolutely must apply for a different type of visa. This visitor visa pathway won't cover that.
That's where paying attention to the details is just so critical, isn't it? For you, the listener, you've got to ensure you're complying with everything. Any tax obligations that might arise in New Zealand from your earnings, though often complex for short stays, need checking. And absolutely sticking to all the visa conditions, because breaking the rules, overstaying, doing unauthorized local work that can have really serious consequences.
Oh, definitely.
We're talking potential deportation, bans on returning to New Zealand, and it could even affect your travel to other countries too, given how much immigration data is shared nowadays.
Yeah.
So really, read the fine print, stick to the rules, don't try to wing it.
Sound advice.
Okay, so with all those important warnings noted, you're feeling inspired. You're ready to swap your home office view for, the Remarkables mountain range. Let's walk through the actual steps. How do you make this New Zealand workcation happen? Right, practical application time. First step, figure out which visa pathway is for you. Is it the standard visitor visa, or are you eligible for the simpler NZETA?
Okay.
Step 2, get your documents ready. Your valid passport, obviously, those return or onward tickets we talked about, and that proof of funds bank statements usually work.
The essentials.
Then step 3, apply online. Immigration New Zealand has an official portal. They've generally made it pretty user-friendly. Step 4, pay the fees, the visa fee and the IVL that we broke down earlier.
Right.
Step 5 is, the approval process usually takes around 3 to 4 weeks, they say. Sometimes faster, sometimes a bit longer.
Standard processing time.
Yeah. And then step 6, get the approval. Once that comes through, you're basically good to go. You arrive in New Zealand, and you can enjoy up to 6 months, potentially 9. Balancing that remote work with exploring everything from, the geothermal bits in Rotorua to maybe bungee jumping in Queenstown, if that's your thing.
It really does create this interesting, you could call it a digital nomad light option.
Yeah, I like that. Light.
It's a fantastic entry point, I think,
Yeah.
for professionals who want that New Zealand experience, that immersion in the culture, the landscape, but without the big commitment, the complexities of, say, a full work visa or long-term relocation. It just lowers that barrier to entry quite significantly.
It really does. Imagine, starting your workday with coffee overlooking Lake Wakatipu or having the Southern Alps as your Zoom background. For real. New Zealand might genuinely be calling your name now. It feels like a very accessible path to blend work, and it's just an incredible travel experience. So there you have it. A pretty clear pathway, actually. An accessible way to mix your professional life with a really unique adventure down in New Zealand. This new visa option, especially with the relatively low cost, it genuinely opens up a world of possibilities for remote workers looking for, well, a serious change of scenery.
It does. And this whole deep dive, it really highlights how countries are actively, strategically adapting to this global workforce shift. Which leads to a bigger question, really. What does this signal for the future of, global mobility and the whole remote work landscape? Could this digital nomad light model focusing on shorter-term, high-value visitors rather than full immigration become a blueprint? Could other countries adopt similar strategies to boost tourism and attract skills without opening up complex immigration debates?
That's a really interesting thought, a potential trendsetter.
It's definitely something fascinating to watch develop.
Absolutely. So whether you're mentally packing your bags already or maybe you're just starting to dream about it, we hope this deep dive has given you a really clear picture of this opportunity in New Zealand and maybe spark some ideas about how it could fit into your own plans or aspirations. Definitely consider the possibilities. Your New Zealand workation. It might just be closer than you think.